Welcome to Coach Bennett's podcast, where every run has a purpose, where kindness is hardcore, where this is about running, and this is not about running, where every starting line is a finish line in disguise, where rambling still gets you where you need to be, where pineapple will never ruin your pizza, and the sodas, adult and not adult kind, are always cold, and where there is room on the starting line for everybody. I'm Coach Bennett. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day. Let's get started.
Welcome to yet another episode of Coach Bennett's podcast. That's right, we're heading straight into episode, get ready for it, 72. That's right, episode 72. Can you believe it? I hope so, because it's real. It's true. These are facts, baby. Episode 72, and this one is all about recovery, although, you know what? I've done an episode on recovery and some of the great ways that you can recover. This one's more about why you need to recover. And as always, I'm not exactly sure what the name of this episode is going to be. It could be Great Running is Dependent on Great Recovery, or Great Recovery Leads to Great Running, or Why You Need to Recover. Not totally sure, but all of those titles would suffice. And I'll tell you right off the bat why I'm inspired to do this episode right now. It's because I just spent a couple of days in Chicago for the Chicago Marathon. And I gotta tell you, it was totally inspiring. If you've never been to a major city marathon, let me just tell you, you need to do it. And I'm not saying you need to go and run. I'm saying you need to go and just be there. If you run it, fantastic. But just go. As a supporter or as a fan, just go. It's amazing, the environment, the vibe that a major marathon in a major city has. Now, I guess I shouldn't limit it to a major marathon and a major city, because really the vibe is no different at any race. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a high school cross-country meet or track and field meet or the Olympics or the Olympic trials or a turkey trot or a marathon in a small city or a town or a major marathon in a major city. I guess the biggest difference is just volume, the amount of people. It's overwhelming in the best possible way. I mean, Chicago, for instance, you've got about 50,000 people that are there to run the marathon. Now, these 50,000, I gotta assume the overwhelming majority of them, if not all of them, feel like, hey, this is me pretty much at my best. After what I've done, after all that I've accomplished to get here, I am at my best or near my best. My best is within reach. So there's like an aura around all of the runners. And then so many of these runners have supporters with them. Family, friends, partners, teammates, coaches, whatever. And those people are so proud of their runner friend. They are so inspired by their runner friend. And that is its own vibe and aura. And then, on top of that, you have in the streets over 1 million people that come out to cheer on strangers for hours. Perfect strangers for hours. They will cheer them on. And that is beautiful. Because what you see in those crowds are people that say, you know what? I may not know what it's like to run a marathon, but I've struggled. I've gone after goals in my life, or I'm looking to challenge myself. And what I see on the street is what inspires me on the side of the street, on the curb, along the route, that maybe today I cross a starting line and I try to do something extraordinary like these 50,000 strangers are doing in the moment right in front of me. They're trying to do something extraordinary. Whew, baby. If you don't walk away, I'll tell you what, hopeful is the word that comes to mind, because you see this kind of like brief, and it's brief, it's only a couple of days, where you think, this is who we could be if we all decided, let's try to be our best and let's try to be better for each other. That's to me. Now, again, am I getting a little bit cheesy? You better believe it, because marathon weekend is cheesy as hell. It is a cheese fest in the best possible way. Like I said, it's inspiring, it's motivating, it's sentimental, it's powerful. Oh, I love it. I love it. And the other thing that was super cool about this weekend, and again, this is why I love going to races. I love going to communities. I must have met, I'm not kidding, 1,000 of you, I'm guessing, maybe 1,000 of you over the course of the 3 days I was there. Maybe more, I don't know. And I'll tell you what, geez, you all are just badasses. The stories I heard about why you're doing this, why you started doing this, why you kept doing this, why you're there, who you're supporting, why you come out and cheer, why you run, the stuff that you have overcome. It's so powerful to get to meet all of you and give you a high five and tell you how proud I am of you, give you a hug, share a moment with you, take a picture. Thank you all for just trying, for showing up and trying. Trying, yes, to be a better version of you, but also trying to do something that's good for you, that's positive, something that inspires both yourself and the people around you. It's just so awesome. So thank you. And all of this inspired this episode. And I'll tell you why, because after the race, before the race, some of you, while you were in the corral, not only did you tell me your great stories, but then you started to tell me what you wanted to do next. And I said to every single one of you that basically told me that, okay, let's just focus on this right now. Let's focus on what you're about to do. Let's focus on what you're doing. And then when that's done, let's focus on recovery before we focus on what's next. Because honestly, it's recovery that is next after a race. Recovery is what's next after a hard workout. We can focus on what's next after what's next once we're done with what's next. And what's next is, like I said, the recovery. All right? And that's why I wanted to focus on this. Straight up, why we recover. Why it is essential that we recover. Why we reframe what it means to recover. Because I've been around the sport long enough to know so many of you associate recovery with being soft, being lazy, being weak, and not taking advantage of, what could be, more work that you could do? As if recovery is just, again, doing nothing. And that's super important, what I just said there. The association we have with recovery as equivalent to doing nothing. So the point of this episode is to break that apart, because recovery is not nothing. Recovery is definitely something. Now, we're going to start, as always. Well, I shouldn't say as always. We don't always start with the dictionary. In fact, we're like a couple minutes in, and I haven't brought up the dictionary. But the dictionary's coming. But before I get into defining recovery, which I've done before in the past. So some of you may already know the definition, but we're actually going to go deep. We're going to go into a couple of different definitions of recovery. What I want you to do is just sit back and relax. I'm going to tell you a couple of the highlights from my Chicago trip. All right. Now, it's not in order of highlightness, the brightness of the highlight, high brightness. I don't know. The point is, this isn't in any particular order. It's just coming out right now as I'm thinking. And honestly, the first thing I'm thinking of, which is weird, is the bowls of pasta that I had at Pisano's, which is right near the race course. I don't know what road it's on. I know where it is, so I just walked there. This is the thing. Chicago's an awesome city. An awesome city. I haven't gotten to explore it the way I want to. The little areas that I've gotten to be around, love it. I love the people. I love how Chicago feels. I love the noisiness of it, the beauty of it, how unique it is. So I really want to explore Chicago more. So if you're from Chicago, thank you for having all of us into your city this past weekend. You were unbelievable hosts to all of us guests. It's been so wonderful getting to go back to Chicago and spend some time there for the marathon weekend. And I've been in Illinois a couple of times outside of Chicago. But yeah, the city's a wonderful city. So oddly enough, yeah, it was the bowls of pasta. I didn't get the deep dish. I'm not doing the deep dish. So just, I know people, you need to try the deep dish. I've tried the deep dish, okay? It's like a bowl of pizza soup surrounded by crust. Like, no, you're kidding yourself if you think that deep dish pizza is better than normal pizza. I mean, just stop it. It's ridiculous. It's that same crowd, you know, that like they all travel together. It's like people are like, deep dish is the best, and they hang out with the people that are like, totally, and especially when you put pineapple on it. Oh gosh, geez, you all need to just go hang out in the corner. You know what I mean? Tell baby to get out of the corner, and she can give up the seat, and you guys can go sit in the corner with your deep dish pizza and your pineapple. What are you doing? Anyway, the point is, has nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now, is the pasta was really good. Every time I go to Chicago, I eat there a couple of times. And the cool thing is the place gets packed, but for some reason, people don't like to sit at the bar. And since I'm alone, I just go and I sit at the bar and I order the spaghetti marinara, and it's usually meatballs. But this time I mixed it up and did some Italian sausage, and I think I'm going to stick with Italian sausage because it was so good. It was so good. I ate there, I think 3, maybe 4 times in 3 days. So to Pisano's in Chicago, thank you. And their staff is the same staff for the last 3 years. I love seeing these people. They have no idea who I am, and I don't show up enough. The regular vibe, you know, which you're always shooting for at your favorite restaurants. Like people are like, oh, you're back, and how you been? And yeah, I obviously go there once a year, like 3 times. So I don't earn any regular associations from the staff. But maybe if I keep going there 3 times a year during that weekend, at some point, I'll get like a fist pump or something. I don't know. But the food was delicious. And you're surrounded by people that are there for the marathon, which, again, is just so awesome. So that's the first thing that came to mind. The second thing that came to mind was how exciting Marathon Weekend has become with all of the festivities and events that take place during the few days before the marathon. There's so much going on. So if you're a runner, this is a perfect thing to go to, whether or not you're racing. Because a lot of the marathons will have an additional race. So, for instance, the Chicago Marathon has a 5K the day before the marathon. So this could be an opportunity for you to just see what the marathon's all about, or, like I said, to just enjoy visiting a city during a major marathon, and you can get in a fun little road race. But there's not just the road race. There are so many events. So I did a shakeout run with the Heartbreak Running Company in Chicago and Nike Running. We did an awesome shakeout run from the store, the Heartbreak Running Company store. I mean, I'm bad with crowds, but I think there was probably close to 1,000 people at it, and I got to meet a lot of you there, so that was a lot of fun. I got to do an elite Q&A panel with some athletes at the Nike Chicago store. So this was super cool. We had Elise Cranny, who's the American record holder in the indoor 5K, Evan Jaeger, American record holder in the steeplechase, and silver medalist in the Olympics, bronze medalist in the World Championship. You've got Galen Rupp, silver medalist and bronze medalist in the Olympics, a multi-time American record holder, and then the one, the only, the GOAT, the legend that is Joan Benoit Samuelson, who held the Chicago record for many years in the women's marathon, was the fastest American at Chicago for 32 years, back when she ran a blistering time in 1985 when she won Chicago. And she's also the first ever gold medalist in the women's marathon when she won the gold medal in 1984. So it was a really fun panel. If you were there, thank you for being such an awesome audience. It was a really good time. And again, I got to spend some time with so many of you and talk to so many of you after the panel, which was a blast. And then just race day. I'll tell you what, I started doing this year. I'm going to do it every year. I started doing laps around the corral. This was later in the day when I realized, you know what I should do? I should just go do a lap around the corral and see if I can wish some people some good luck. So I did that for maybe 2 or 3, 4 corrals, and it was so much fun. I got to see so many of you there right before you got called out to the starting line. And I got to tell you, you all are amazing. You're about to take on this incredible challenge, and you were so positive, so full of joy. It made me so happy, and that's something I'm going to be doing every time I go back to Chicago. And I know that there were parties, there were get-togethers, there were so many group runs put on by so many different run crews, run clubs, brands. It's really an amazing weekend and an experience that whether you're running the marathon, like I said, or just there supporting the marathon, it's worth going. Okay, so that's kind of my advertisement for Marathon Weekend. And really, this translates to any race. So if you love running and you're looking for inspiration, you're looking for motivation, you're looking to be able to support the sport, find out if there's some races in your community. And like I said, it could be high school cross country. It could be a master's track meet. It could be an ultra marathon that you could volunteer at, or it could be a road race. Just go and check it out. Maybe either take part in it as an athlete or as a fan or as a volunteer, and you're going to walk away with more than you showed up. And I'm not just talking about the bagels and the orange juice and the little packets of stuff that you get in your goodie bag. I'm talking about the stuff that actually lasts, those non-perishable items like inspiration and hope. You know what I mean? So check it out and let me know how it goes, especially if you go out there and you take part in it. All right, so let's get into the heart and the soul here, right, of this episode, which is why we recover, why we need to recover, why you should recover, and why you should reframe how you look at recovery if you're looking at recovery as something that is not essential, powerful, and a part of how you become a better runner and not apart from how you become a better runner. So let's start by defining recovery, shall we? Okay. Assistant Coach Dictionary, come on over, hook us up. Recover. Verb. It's a verb, y'all. It's an action. So right away, we are dispelling the rumors that to recover is lazy. To recover is not something. It's a nothing. No, it's a verb. It's an action. And the first definition of that verb, recover, is to get back or regain. Now, when you've heard me talk about recovery, I define it myself as to take back or regain, get back those things that were lost or stolen from you during the day. Now that could mean so many different things. It could mean peace of mind. It could mean energy. It could mean hope, confidence. There are so many different things it can mean because a recovery run, which is where I was coming up with the definition for it, to define basically the recovery of a recovery run, is really to recover from or for a hard effort, meaning you're recovering from a hard effort you did, or you're recovering in anticipation of a hard effort going forward. So that's definition number one. Now, definition number two, I love my definitions a number two. And definition number two is to make up for or make good. So just tuck that one to the side. I love that though. To make up for or make good. Definition three. Yeah, we're going there, folks. We are going there. To regain the strength, composure, balance, or the like of oneself. Oh, definition three. You're singing to me. Let's do it again. Definition 3 of recover. To regain the strength, composure, balance, or the like of oneself. The strength of oneself, the composure of oneself, the balance of oneself. That means of you. To get back your strength, to get back your composure, to get back your balance. Oh, that is a great one. That is a great one. And then, we're going to 5. We're skipping 4 because it's like the legal term of recover. So I don't know. So anyway, Okay, you ready? Because I don't know if I've ever gone to 5 before, but we're going to 5. So definition 5, to reclaim from a bad state. Think about that. Visualize that. To reclaim. To say, this is mine. I'm taking it back. And what are you taking it back from? A bad state. A bad situation. A bad place. Oh, baby. I mean, we went 4 definitions deep. I had to go to the 5th definition technically, but to get 4 of these definitions, but 4 of them. To get back or regain, to make up for or make good, to regain the strength, composure, balance, or the like of oneself, to reclaim from a bad state. Oh, I gotta tell you, the dictionary done good. Has it not? I mean, be honest. The dictionary is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. I love dictionaries. Part of this is because there was a dictionary in the bathroom growing up. I don't know why it was there. I think somebody needed it. And I remember, when you're in the bathroom, you need something to read. You have to read something. And I had read the back of every shampoo bottle in the bathroom at this point. So there was the dictionary. And I just started reading it. And I was like, this is crazy. Because at first you're just flipping through. You ever do that? You just flip through and you're like, stop. And then you put your finger on the pages. You're doing circles and squiggles. And then you stop. And then you just read the definition for that word. Then I started just looking up words that I use all the time or are interesting to me. Words like inspiration, motivation, recovery, endurance, all of these things that play a significant role in my life. And I realized I don't really know what these words mean. I mean, if somebody asked me to define these words, I'd kind of be screwed because I could give a JV definition. I could give a C+ definition. I could give an okay definition, a mediocre definition. But if I needed to give an extraordinary definition, a correct definition, I wouldn't be able to do it. So there's my advertisement now for the dictionary. So all of you probably at the end of this episode, you're going to be hanging out at, marathons in major cities, and you're going to be carting around a dictionary, which is super cool. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about this past weekend and the conversations I had with people after the race, after they told me how they did, and then they went immediately into, hey, I want to do this. So they had me in front of them. They took advantage of it, which is great. Asked me questions, tell me your stories, do whatever you want to do. But I'm going to respond, right? And I got dozens of times people that within a minute and a half of telling me about the marathon they had just run, within 10, 20, 30, 60 minutes, telling me what they want to do next. They haven't even traded in their beer tickets for a beer yet, and they're telling me they want to go run London or they want to do a half marathon in their hometown. And I said, you know what you want to do next? You want to enjoy this. You want to celebrate what you just did. And then you want to recover. That's what you want to do. You don't want to be setting another goal right now. Give yourself some time to soak this up. Give yourself some time to maybe go get a bite to eat at Pisano's. You know what I mean? But let's just pump the brakes a little bit and recover. And I wasn't only talking about physically recover, although I definitely was talking about physically recover, because there is real damage post-marathon at a cellular level to the runner. You have to recover. Well, I shouldn't say you have to recover. You don't have to recover. That's entirely up to you. But if you choose not to recover, there's a really good chance that you are not going to get back to break even, okay? Just normal you for a really, really long time, much less a better, stronger, more powerful version of you, which you should be after a marathon, if you give yourself sufficient time to heal and recover from the marathon. And like I said, not just physically, mindfully, emotionally, you need to recover. You must recover. And this isn't just about the marathon. This is about any hard effort, especially a race where you are taxing yourself in so many different ways. So if you just go with me here for a little bit, let's just talk about marathon weekend. And again, this isn't just about marathon running. This is about any kind of running. And I'll tell you what, yes, this is about running, and this is not about running. So you can adjust or change some of the words I'm using here. I'm going to be talking about a marathon weekend. This could be your wedding weekend. This could be the weekend you're going to decide which college you want to go to. This could be the weekend of the SATs or final exams. This could be a weekend where you have to go home, and home can sometimes be a hard situation, okay? A lot of tension, a lot of anxiety, all right? So you can play with the words that I'm using to make it more personal, to more true to you, okay? And yes, if you hear a dog barking, that's Millie, who is once again protecting the house from no intruders. So good for Millie. Thank you so much for protecting us from nothing. Okay, just think about marathon weekend. And let's just say, we'll use me as an example. We'll pretend that I ran the Chicago Marathon, which I did not. I have to travel from Oregon. Traveling in and of itself is difficult. Traveling in and of itself is stressful. Traveling in and of itself demands a certain amount of logistics, planning, and in anticipation of this, you have to do certain things, right? You have to pack your bag. And for a race weekend, that's stressful. You're looking at the weather, the changes in the weather. Am I bringing enough stuff? Do I have what I need? Are my race shoes in there? I'm going to check that 45 different times. Is my jersey in there? My shorts in there? Am I going to stay hydrated on the plane? It's a decent flight. It's 4+ hours. Am I going to be able to bring my water bottle? Am I going to chug my water bottle before they check me through security? Are they going to wonder why I have all of this food in here? Because you're suddenly thinking, I should bring some food just in case access to food in Chicago is not ideal. Because it is a major city, yes, but you're bringing in a couple 100,000 people for the marathon. So it can get very difficult. And then thinking of which, should I call Pisano's and see if they take reservations? I probably should. How many are going to be there? Now you're suddenly thinking about your supporters. Are they going to be happy? Are they going to be bored? It's so amazing that they're coming. I guess I should see them, but I have a marathon. I don't want to be walking around all day long, and I don't want to be with people all day long, but maybe that is good, because if I'm not with people, then all I'm going to be doing is thinking about the race, and I don't want to obsess about the race, because if I obsess about the race, I'll get tense about the race, and if I get tense, I'll suddenly be anxious, and then I'll start getting anxious about being anxious, and that's going to strain me, and oh my goodness, now I'm all stressed out. We haven't even gotten to the airport yet, and this is already exhausting. Then you get to the airport. We're going to make the assumption that everything is smooth at the airport, but we know it's not always smooth. There are delays. You start to panic about that. You start hoping that the hotel does not give your room away for some reason. It happens because you have to check in a little bit later than you said. You have friends that suddenly, like I mentioned earlier, are meeting you in Chicago, but now you're going to be late. All of this stuff is going on. You arrive in Chicago. Do I take the train or do I take a car? Oh, there's going to be traffic. And I'll tell you what, normally you would be okay with this if you didn't have a major life event within 48 hours. You know, it's still going to be stressful, but whether you get to your hotel at 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. is probably not that big of a deal unless, like I said, you have a major life event and now you're wondering, I'm really hungry, I haven't eaten in a while, all I had was what I had at the airport and that wasn't that good, and now I'm delayed by 2 hours, I should be eating, where's my stuff? It's in the back of the car, I can't get to it, we're sitting in traffic, and again, we're not even close to race day. So as you can tell, there's a lot of emotional stress and physical stress that comes with this. Let's not even talk about, for too long at least, I'm about to talk about it, the 14, 16, or 18 weeks of effort of running that you had to do. We're just talking running. We're talking about the fartleks and the tempo runs and the long runs and the recovery runs. We're talking about the intervals, the long ones and the short ones. We're talking about waking up on those rainy Tuesdays and staying in on those beautiful Fridays so you can run on a hot and humid Saturday morning. I mean, that's the physical effort that we can sometimes forget about when we get to marathon weekend and it's emotionally taxing. and we don't realize we've been running hard for months to get to here. We've been taxing our bodies physically for months to get here. So let's not forget about that. Let's remember that it took an incredible amount of physical energy and expenditure to get to race day ready and able to take on a 42.2K race. Okay? Like, we sometimes take it for granted eventually that it's hard to run. It's hard to string together a training program. It's hard enough to run 3 or 4 days a week, all recovery runs, much less increasing volume, increasing intensity, having different types of workouts, and trying to nail all of this so you can nail race day. So all of this is going on, and like I mentioned, we haven't even gotten to race day. And I don't even need to get into race day. You understand how taxing emotionally, physically, mindfully race day is. So I just want to start with that foundation of the fact that without even racing, you need to recover. Without even taking part in the race, crossing the starting line, and racing for 42.2K, we already have enough that you've done to just get to the starting line that merits you take some real responsibility to recover from all that you've done just to get to the starting line. And then you're going to race, which is just 42.2K more of stuff you're going to need to recover from. Those hard runs, those hard days, those hard workouts, and those hard moments. That's what you're going to need to do. Now, this is the other thing I want to do. It seems like I'm saying recovery is always something that you need to do after something that almost seems negative. I know that when I'm saying you need to recover from a hard run, but you know, if you think about all of the things that can tire you out, all right, that maybe you don't think about. Like, for instance, for me, if I'm scared or excessively nervous, that's exhausting. I'll give you an example. When we were driving across the country a few years ago, we were coming down, I guess it's the mountains, I don't really know. I should be better at geography, into what I believe was Salt Lake City. I think we were heading into Salt Lake City. It was snowing. We were going a pretty steep decline for, it seemed like 10 miles, 15 miles in the snow at nighttime. I had my family in the car. I'm terrified this entire drive down because it is coming down hard, this snow. I am not totally comfortable driving downhill in the snow at nighttime on a road I've never been on before in some pretty significant traffic. And as a result, I was clenching the wheel and I was tense. I was tense for probably 45 straight minutes. When I finally got out of this situation where we got down lower, the snowing ceased, and we weren't on some kind of crazy S-turn coming out of the mountains, I relaxed. Now, you would think this would be a relief, and it was. But what happens after you've been tense for a while, after you've been anxious for a while, once you relax, your body suddenly starts telling you the truth about the situation, about how tired you are. I suddenly became exhausted. The moment I relaxed, I became exhausted. The same thing happens, like I mentioned, when you're scared, when you're tense, when you're really excited, when you're really sad, when you're really happy. If you're like me, who loves to laugh, I'm wiped out when I'm with friends that I laugh a lot with. So if I'm with somebody and we're just shooting the breeze and we laugh for an hour, when I walk away, I'm scorched. I'm exhausted. Laughing takes a lot of effort. Crying takes a lot of effort. And we dismiss these things because we think the only thing that can get us tired is really hard work or something that we hate. No, that's not the case. Sometimes just a really, really great night is exhausting. Sometimes being in an unbelievably exciting situation, it's exhausting. Anything that has us channeling our emotions in a very powerful way, well, it's exhausting. It's exhausting, and you need to recover from those things. So yes, if you're with a group of friends and it's an awesome night, it's a fun night, and you're laughing the entire time, you need to recover from that. That's not a dirty word, and it's not a negative connotation. What it is saying that you put yourself out there in a lot of different ways, okay? That's just my little sidebar about the need to recover and all of the things that, yes, we need to recover from. Okay, so let's dismiss this idea that you only need to recover from really physically taxing things like running a marathon or a long run or doing some HIIT workout or swimming or listen, you laugh hard enough for long enough, it's going to knock you out. So just be aware of that. If you're in a really tense car ride for 2 or 3 hours, like I was, well, you're asking a lot from yourself to get out of that car and suddenly go do a workout, all right? So these are the things that I just want you to be thinking about because you need to allow yourself some grace here, but this isn't just about that. This is also just about being a smarter coach and athlete to yourself. I love when the hardcore charlatans come out and it's like, go hard or go home all the time. Oh, shut up. Shut up. It's just so stupid. It does not lead to long-term greatness. And to be honest with you, it doesn't even really lead to short-term greatness, And what is short-term greatness anyway? I mean, you're looking for consistency. And if you want to be consistently great, you just have to be honest. And anyone that's saying you can go hard all the time, they're just liars. They're not being honest. So anyway, just wanted to talk about that because it suddenly gets very difficult for people, especially runners, to recover as much as they need to. And I gave this as an example. I think the last time I talked about recovery in the podcast was, runners have no problem talking about recovery when it comes to like a speed workout, right? It's natural. It makes sense. So when you say, hey, we're going to do 8 400s at your 1500 or mile pace, and in between, I'm going to give you some recovery time, no runner complains about that. You know why? Because they can't run 8 400s at their mile pace without recovery. They can't do it. It's impossible. You cannot do it. Because if that was the case and you could do it, you weren't running the right pace because a mile is only 4 laps. You can only run your mile pace for 4 laps. You can't do 8 laps. You need recovery in between in order to do that work. Runners grasp that. They understand that. But when you take it out of a speed workout, it's hard enough to get them to run a recovery run the next day the right way. We often push too hard on our recovery runs, and as a result, we don't recover as much as we should, which means eventually that speed run we're going to have to back off because you're not recovered enough to do it. Or you're going to try to do it when you're not recovered enough to do it, and it's not going to go well. And then what happens? You beat yourself up mentally. You beat yourself up mindfully. You beat yourself up emotionally. And guess what? That's taxing. And as a result, you need to recover from that. But guess what? You've already proven you don't recover the right way. So now we're just constantly getting deeper and deeper into a hole. And then you wonder why. And you know what? The number one answer is for dumb runners, they think, I'm not running hard enough. Oh, my goodness. No, you're running too hard. You're recovering not enough. And you're a jerk to yourself. This ain't rocket science. It ain't rocket science, Running isn't complicated. Runners are complicated, but running is not complicated. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about why we need to recover, okay? And I think this goes with attacking one of the problems of the mentality people have about recovery. And I've talked about this, I've hinted at it already, but I want to talk about it again. We need to stop thinking of recovery as lazy or loss, meaning losing out on gains by being lazy, or looking at recovery as selfish. So I'm going to give a couple of things here. One, recovery is not lazy. Recovery is an active process. You are actively recovering. You are, to use the example of the marathon, that cellular damage that you've got, you need to repair that cellular damage. If you go to the cellular level, these cells have to repair themselves. Okay? It's no different than when you're lifting weights. What's happening when you're lifting down weights? You're breaking down your muscles. There's all of these muscle tears. You have to give those muscles the ability to repair themselves before you break them down again, right? That's what you need to do. You wouldn't then beat them up again because now you're just beating up something that's in a weakened state. Talk about cowardly, you know what I mean? So the tough guy thing to do is to actually allow those things to repair themselves so then you can beat them up again. So then they can repair themselves into an even stronger state, and then you can take them on again. This is basically the process of how you're progressing, right? This is how you progress. This is how you get a little bit better. This is how you're able to take on harder and harder things. But really, the effort kind of remains the same. Your recovery run early in your training program might be 10 minutes. And at the end of the training program, a recovery run might be 50 minutes. But relatively speaking, they should be taking about the same amount of energy, emotionally, physically, from you, whether it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It's just that your fitness has improved. You've gotten stronger, which means it takes more to beat you up. Whoa, that's amazing. So we have to stop thinking of recovery as something that's lazy or something that, is akin to losing or is selfish. It is an activity. And you are gaining things when you recover, okay? You are gaining things and not losing things when you recover. Go back to that definition that we went over for recover, to get back or regain. There's nothing about losing. It's about getting back things that were lost, right? To make up for or make good. Think about that. When you're recovering, you're making up for something. You're not losing anything. To regain the strength, composure, the balance, or the like of oneself. Think about that. And lastly, to reclaim from a bad state. What in there is about losing anything? It's all about gaining things. Recovery is all about the gains. We think it's a waste of time. We think, we could be doing something else that we're going to gain from. No. Recovery is all about the gains. And without the recovery, there's a reason why you have to recover, right? I mean, think about it. The hard efforts are where you are making gains, but you're also losing things. You're losing strength, right? I mean, because it takes strength to do, let's say, a hard interval workout, right? So yes, you're gaining speed. Hopefully you're gaining efficiency. You're gaining endurance. You're gaining mental and physical callousing with a speed workout, 100%. But you're putting stuff out, right? You're losing some of your strength and some of your endurance to gain that strength and endurance. You're losing some of your speed to gain some speed. And how do you then get all of that back? Well, you get back what you gave through recovery. And through those hard workouts, you make further gains. But just those further gains without getting back what you gave, it's a net negative as far as I'm concerned. You need both. You need both the putting out, which are those hard efforts, and the taking back, which are the recovery aspects of your life, of your training program. Okay? That's how you do it. I'll give you an example, one of the best examples I can think of how I look at how recovery is not just essential, it's selfless in many ways. Because a lot of people think recovery is like almost selfish. Like a really good sleep suddenly becomes selfish. Like drinking, like taking the time to recover from a hard workout before you do another workout or run is selfish. If you've ever been on a plane, and I think of this every time I'm on a plane, at the beginning, you will be taken through the safety protocol, right? And they mention the oxygen masks. They say an oxygen mask will drop from the ceiling. Now, what do they tell you to do? They tell you if you are traveling with children, if you are traveling with someone who's going to need help with an oxygen mask, take care of yourself first. Get your oxygen mask on first. Then put the oxygen mask on everyone else. Why? Because if you don't have oxygen, you're not going to be able to help anybody. So you have to help yourself before you can help others. It takes strength to help others. It takes endurance to help others. And if need be, you're going to need to be fast to help others. Well, the only way that you can have the strength, the endurance, and the speed to help others is going to be if you've got the oxygen you need. And in this case, the oxygen you need is recovery. It's going to be recovery. That's your oxygen mask, your recovery. So think about it. If you want to do what you want to do, you're going to need to do what you need to do. And the need aspect is recovery. The want, I'm sure, is run far, run fast, run long, run a lot, blah, 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 all the cool stuff. In order to do what you want to do, you're going to need to do what you need to do. The recovery is what you need to do, okay? So just remember that, all right? Now, I'm hoping this episode solidified for so many of you just how important and essential recovery is. That it is not something that is soft. That it is not something that is selfish. That is not something that is a loss leader, meaning every time I recover, I'm not getting better. No, every time you recover, you are taking advantage of all the work you're doing to get better. This is how you soak it up. This is how you allow yourself to work harder. If you want to get better, you're going to have to do harder and harder things. If you want to do harder and harder things, you're going to need to take advantage of the stuff that you've done, the hard stuff you've already done. But I'll tell you what, you're never going to be able to do harder and harder things consistently unless you're recovering from the hard things you're doing. That's how it works. There is no way around it. If you want to get better, if you want to progress, if you want to run faster, if you want to go further, if you want to run more and do all of these things better and have more fun doing it, then the way to do it is to take care of yourself. And you do that by recovering. You do that by recovery. That's how you get back or regain. That's how you make up for or make good. That's how you regain strength, composure, and balance. And that's how you reclaim from a bad state. That's recovery. That's a verb. That's an action. And I'll tell you what, we are made up by the actions we take. The nouns that we want to be are dependent on the verbs that we do. So, recover better, and you're going to run better. That's my message for you, episode 72. I was not planning on it rhyming, it just did, and it sounded so good. So here we are at the end of the episode. This is where I get to tell you thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing the episode. Thank you for being a subscriber. Thank you for reviewing. Thank you for rating. If you haven't done those things, please do them. Please leave a rating. Please leave a review. I'm going to read a few of them next week to call attention to some of you that have left reviews and ratings because I appreciate it so much. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I'll meet you on the next starting line. Thank you so much for listening to Coach Bennett's podcast today. And if you're not already following or subscribed to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening, well, I really wish you would because it helps a lot. Also, check out the show notes because you'll find a link to Coach Bennett's newsletter, as well as all the social media sites that I'm on. Places like Threads and Facebook and Instagram and Mastodon and YouTube and even the artist formerly known as Twitter. Whatever that dumpster fire is called today, you'll find a link to it because I'm on there. Thank you so much again for listening, and until next time, take care of yourself.